Good afternoon, Ronan. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Dave Hamilton here. So good to see you. I just had to say hi. And Lisa, I had to say hi.
How are you?
Fantastic. It's great to see you guys. We're going to let Dr. Fishman carry on with the rest of the program. But I just wanted to say thank you. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your being here. And hope you and Jim you have a great conversation. And we'll check back in with you later.
Okay.
David, thank you so much. Much appreciate the help here, and certainly appreciate Jim, Lisa, and Renan being with us this afternoon. As you know, we just finished up a discussion with our small to mid-sized businesses and talking about innovation and partnerships. And now we're going to move to the other side of those partnerships and get a perspective about the kinds of things that are important there for defense innovation partnerships. But what I'd like to start out with, first of all, is for each of you to introduce yourself, because your backgrounds are just so interesting. And I think it makes sense for everybody to understand where you come from. And tell us just a little bit about your companies, because you believe your companies are innovative. I believe that, and our audience will too when you're done. Lisa, do you want to start?
Sure. So Lisa Atherton, Textron Systems, a sister company to Bell. You heard from Carl Kaufman earlier in the day. And we operate in the air, the land, the sea, the space, the weapons. And just for good measure, we make sure that we're in the electronic system space. We're in the aircraft propulsion side with Lycoming engines, full flight simulators. The day in the life here is mental gymnastics in my job. So it's good fun. And just because we think it's something I'm very proud of, we have the third largest air force in the United States with our ATAC group here in Fort Worth. So right behind the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy. So with our fleet of F-1s, L-39s, among others. And so we provide red air services to the Air Force and the Navy. And so Textron Systems is a wide breadth of a very exciting product and portfolio. And so it's an exciting group. And I would say this panel today of innovation with the group that we're going to talk about, we can talk about some exciting ways of partnerships, because all of this space requires a lot of partnership and innovative ideas to be able to get all this stuff done. So thanks for having us, Victor.
It does. Lisa, thank you so much. Renan, a word about Elbit Systems America.
Thank you. Again, also Fort Worth, Texas, headquarters in Fort Worth, Texas. Basically, we are a very broad portfolio company known for a lot of innovation in airborne and ground systems. Started here about 30 years ago when we purchased a facility here from the good Honorable Secretary Gordon England, who's with us today, and parlayed it into about a $1.3 billion company these days with 2,500 employees in the U.S., leader in electro-optics, in targeting, in ground electronics and avionics and so forth. We are a subsidiary of Elbit Systems, which is a global defense electronics company, which is headquartered in Israel. And we draw a lot of innovation and technology from them. Just from an innovation perspective, our mission is actually to provide innovative solutions to protect and save lives. And we do that for defense, homeland security, commercial aviation, and medical instruments businesses. And I think one of the things we're known for, and we can talk more about that, is with innovation, not necessarily just for the sake of innovation, but innovation to achieve high level of mission effectiveness. I think that will be, if you ask me to really summarize what Elbit is about innovation to achieve mission effectiveness. And I look forward to the discussion today.
Thank you very much. Jim Jaska, President and CEO of Valiant Integrated Systems. And what a terrific introduction you did for Secretary Gertz. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. Jim Jaska with Valiant Integrated Services out of Herndon, Virginia. We're a pure play services company with the central mission of critical mission support. And we deliver these solutions both as a prime as well as a partner, supporting our customers in their most critical missions. We operate out of 4 segments: training and readiness, along with our engineering analysis business, logistics and supply chain, mission contingency support, and an asset management business. We operate out of 35 countries, every state in the union, about 6,000 associates spread around the globe, supporting our customers. And I've been in the government services business for, over 40 years now, and grew up in out of the aerospace and defense prime world, and then gravitated over to services. So I really look forward to today's discussion, Victor, and talking about innovation and partnerships.
Great, Jim. Thank you so much. You know, the next question I'd like to pose first to Renan, if we could. Our panel is focused on partnerships for innovation. And so the question that comes to mind is, have partnerships expanded or sped up your innovation? Or more directly, what do they bring to innovation? Now, this is especially important consideration today when we have an explosive use of new government partnership strategies such as OTAs and the initiatives that focus on speed to field. Renan, some thoughts?
Okay. Well, Victor, you know, we all talk these days about innovation as if it's something new, but I would like to start actually with an example of where Elbit has had a partnership with Collins Aerospace. Before Collins, it was Rockwell Collins, and before Rockwell Collins, it was other Kaiser Electronics. And we've had a partnership with them for now coming up on more than 2 decades as a leader in the world on helmet mounted display system. And you can look at the evolution of that partnership all the way from the joint helmet mounted QS system to nowadays the F-35 helmet mounted display system that provide ability for the pilot to see through the skin of the aircraft, 360 degrees. You look at an amazing level of innovation through this partnership. We recently announced another partnership, which we hope will be as enduring, which is a partnership with BAE for the future upgrade or replacement for the Bradley fighting vehicles, where the 2 companies are coming together with some innovative capabilities to really provide some new solutions for the U.S. Army. I think all in all, you know, we have several areas in partnerships, and I believe partnerships are very, very key for innovation. In the last couple of years, we've really intensified working, as you mentioned, both with universities, but also with the government. The government is really, the military has really pushed forward on CRADAs. We've now have several CRADAs with SOCOM, with the Army on several innovative concepts. And of course, the whole element of OTA. I think the key, Victor, is that some of those new contracting mechanisms, and you can call it cost sharing or partnerships, are allowing our customers to take more risk. And I think risk is a key element in innovation. If you allow the customers and our industry to take risk and not penalize them for that risk, I think we'll see more innovation. I think what's happening the last couple, 3 years is very encouraging. Folks like Dr. Roper from the Air Force have really been pushing the envelope on that. I applaud them. And I think that doing this industry to government, industry to military, and industry to industry is the way we will achieve that competitive edge in the peer competition. Victor, thank you.
If I could piggyback on that, Victor, with the OTAs and the new methodology. Number one, the Futures Command stand-up, I think, has been, in my estimation, has been a wild success for us. When the Army was able to set out their prioritizations, they've been able to stick to that prioritization. When they have hit their marks, when they said they're going to release their, either be it RFI, an RFP, an OTA, that allows us as industry to plan our resources, to plan our budgets, to plan our IRAD, and meet what they need. So that in itself is a partnership for us to be able to work together. When they're doing things like soldier touch points, for instance, on the next generation squad weapon that we're a part of, the soldier touch points allows us to deliver them weapons. They're able to get out there and fire those weapons, provide us human factors feedback, provide us inputs of where they would like to see, say, the charging handle, or where they would like to have maybe a smaller barrel size. We're able to incorporate those engineering changes, provide that back to them, and incorporate that into the next round of soldier touch points and provide them a better product as they do their down select. So using the soldier touch point process is going to provide a better product to the soldier faster. It provides them the warfighter what they need when they need it. And I just think it's a new process from an innovative way to go about acquisition. And it allows us in industry.
Absolutely. And we've heard earlier, especially from Secretary Gertz, about the need to move quickly.
Yes.
And to have all of the pieces going in parallel lines as we move forward. Jim, any thoughts on this topic?
You know, Victor, just a couple to add to my panel colleagues here. One is, I think at Valiant, we look at ourselves both as in an innovator role and a partnership role. And the value here is about leverage and let's call it force multipliers when we're in a common aligned goal driving to a set of requirements. And so what we look at is what we can provide as a value added from a cost effectiveness and critical enabler to help both the OEMs on their missions and their requirements and their programs, as well as taking the lead on some of the programs we have around electronic warfare and distributed mission operations, the unmanned side, as well as some of supplying our weapons and tactical expertise, also in mission resilience. And so how this comes, I think, to a leverage point is really looking at how we can drive down total life cycle cost in the development and the innovating of new weapon systems, of new platforms, and new requirements. So it goes beyond the invention. I think partnerships take it to the full life cycle. And I think that's where I believe leverage comes out through partnerships, adding technical capability, adding critical enablers, and do it in a cost-effective way.
Absolutely, Jim. Thank you very much. Renan, one of the things that I'd like you to comment, if you would, is on that question of life cycle maintenance and life cycle costs, because the systems that you have now are essential to the life of the aircraft.
Absolutely. So, you know, the issue of life cycle is definitely very, very critical. I think part of what we're seeing from an innovation perspective is the realization from our customers that it's no longer the right thing to necessarily design a system to be there for about 30 years or so, because the technology is evolving so quickly that you have to really renew and readjust. There's a big drive around digital engineering and digital innovation. I think there is a significant value to be had with digital engineering to allow us to actually renew and use more software, which again makes system more upgradable and more capable. Key issue we're struggling with around life cycle is, of course, obsolescence of electronic components, the resiliency of the supply chain, and I think the direction of actually modeling systems in digital engineering, being able to leverage more software, has a lot of ways to solve that. I think we all know the military, about 70% of the budget is used for O&M, so the ability to reduce sustainment costs, to look for ways to renew and to solve obsolescence is very key. It's a big part of what we do in our business to look for ways to do this in a more effective way.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Lisa, one of the things that you mentioned was the opportunity for the touch points and getting out to the field with your prototypes and seeing just how the folks use that. But there's a dynamic tension between design for the long term as well as what those folks would like to see. How do you handle that?
Well, again, so I think that the prototyping and having the soldier there with us allows us to incorporate that quickly. You know, when you heard from Jeff Howe earlier, when we started designing the Ripsaw M5, we were able to leverage off of what they had been working with, the DARPA Grand Challenge, for about a decade. We took what we thought we were hearing from the Army. They started cutting metal, and 12 weeks later, we had it out there on the AUSA floor. We heard again, well, we want some different things. So the fact that we had a team like the House that they could quickly adapt and not be so cumbersome with maybe what Textron, we were a little slower. We're trying to inject some of the agility that the House bring with their DNA into our DNA. And we were able to quickly adapt to that. But eventually you do have to snap the chalk line and try to get into a bit of a manufacturability for the baseline. But the enduring architecture side that Renan was kind of referencing too, the software is going to change. The architecture of this is going to change. You've got to create an enduring architecture backbone for this, because the Army, the Air Force, whoever it is going to need to be able to adapt to this, because we're not going to have a vehicle that's going to be the same for 30 years. So we recognize you're going to have something that can evolve with the needs. It's like your iPhone. It's not the same iPhone you had a year ago. I mean, what are we up to? 12. And when I showed my daughter, I have an 8 still, and she said, hello, it's 2020. That's so 2019. So we've got to be able to create a baseline that can evolve with the needs of the soldier.
Absolutely. Jim, I wonder if you would share some insights into the essential elements for innovation. One is that we're all focused, you know, one of the areas that innovation rides on, and actually the entire innovation enterprise rides on, is the security of our partnerships. Could you speak to that agenda?
Sure, Victor. You know, I think Thomas Edison said it best. The value of an idea lies in the using of it. And when you look at innovation and partnerships and the essential elements of innovation, I think it really looks at and really centers around organizational alignment, whether it's external or internal, on taking an idea, a dream, to reality. And when I look at investment in ideas, whether it's a physical, material idea or a process idea, to me, it centers around building an alignment of vision, really having clarity of an end state for that idea, and really centering on a full understanding of success factors. What truly makes this new idea, this new process, a new way of doing things, a better widget, really better. I think also we find that understanding and pressure testing capabilities, making sure you have the right people that are going to take the game into reality, whether it's a partnership or whether it's totally internal. I think that's really critical. And I always view that my number one law is, for every expert, there's an opposite and equal expert. So really truly understanding whether you have the right people around the table, you have the right capabilities. And to me, partnerships are so critical on that component. I also believe that resource allocation, really being honest with the financial commitment to take this dream into reality. The size, scope of the project, this timeline, having a reality along with the right risk management and more than just the gating process, but really looking at off-ramps. Should this idea, as it goes from dreams to reality, be successful or not? And I think being honest with the investment, looking at the return on the investment, the risk, and the last component I think is so critical as we look at essential elements of innovation is just open communication within an organization, as well as transparency within your partners. And I found that some of the previous panels talked about this same critical element of communication with customers, partners, all stakeholders, and just being in an open and transparent way, I think, drives success in innovation.
Jim, thank you
Victor,
very
can I add this? If I
Yes.
can add maybe something around the security, so you can look at two fundamental approaches to achieve security. One will be to mount some walls and protections around critical IP and information, and with that to kind of secure a long-term position. But more and more we find that doing that doesn't change the fact that the outside world, the threats are changing, technology is evolving. So you put walls around something that very quickly becomes obsolete. What is the other approach to achieve security, which is, I think, what the Army Futures Command is doing, what we're doing these days, is to just accelerate tremendously the cycle for evolution, for changing. So by the time somebody may get their hands on an element of the technology, it's already obsolete. You're already in the next iteration. This is actually the way Lisa mentioned, how the iPhone and other things, that's how they compete. I mean, they don't compete necessarily just by putting walls around the technology. They compete by evolving it very quickly. And I think that's our focus. At Elbit, our focus is how do we accelerate the cycle of innovation?
Absolutely. And Lisa, do you want to follow up on that?
I just think Renan said it excellently. I mean, the point is we got to move faster than our enemies. I mean, they're trying to do turns inside us. We've got to outpace them. And the way we do that is we've got to get outside of our acquisition shackles. And some of the ways I think we have done this with OTAs, with the way we've done this with Futures Command, the way we have broken down with what Ellen Lord has tried to do with some of the acquisition reform, I think has really helped us speed up some of this. We've got to keep doing it. But I think we've seen some great change there to help make some improvement.
Excuse me, go ahead, Renan.
Victor, no, this is Jim. Just
Jim, excuse me.
Just to add on Lisa's point, there's also another element of acceleration of technology transfer and bringing these dreams into reality. And it not necessarily always resides in the new widget, the new system, the new process. It also, innovation can come out of maximizing capability out of the existing systems and force structure, kind of wringing out the residual that hasn't been tapped, either by applying existing capabilities to new missions that have been considered, or just going and looking at multiple missions, bringing multiple systems together to create a new set of answer a new set of requirements. I think this whole idea of wringing out the capacity, the excess capacity out of existing technologies is also another way to bring ideas quickly and leveraging what the successes have been in the past.
Well, that makes sense, and it makes great bottom line sense as well. One of the questions I have, Lisa, if I could go back to you for a minute, is moving quickly and being able to turn inside your enemy's OODA loop, if you will. How do you bring your supply chain along with that?
Well, when you got to incentivize them, right? So we got to have good incentivize. You got to pick good suppliers, and make sure you have good supply chain that comes with you. You know, again, it's back to partnership and getting buy-in with your partnership and getting them early. I prefer to think of suppliers as teammates versus as suppliers. I think if you get in early, you know, not to go back to my Bell roots too much, but you know, the team valor approach that we did with V280, I think is a premier example of how you get in very quickly early on a really great example of a team coming together and having the vision to come together as a supply chain that's going to be around a long time and has the right vision for moving quickly and getting the right product out there. So I think we're doing the same thing with Team Repsaw with the RCV. You know, hopefully that's answering the question, but
Yes.
accelerating is, I think, events like we've got today is trying to help folks understand this crazy acquisition process that we have with the government too. I think the Howe brothers struggled a little bit with understanding the government acquisition process, and having a partner with Textron Systems to help them navigate that was helping them. So I'll cede to my panel members to help me out of my soup here, but
Well,
the supply chain
yeah,
is tough.
no, well, I'll help a little bit, Lisa. So I think that's a great question. So I'll give you a couple examples, especially with the Army. So we are the prime contractor for the Army for their next generation targeting system. It's a funny name. It's called Medusa. It's a multi-domain user system architecture, but it's a very sophisticated targeting system that takes into account a lot of different elements. And in it, we have suppliers that deal with imaging, suppliers that deal with acoustic sensing, suppliers that deal with laser systems, and quite an eclectic list of very, very advanced suppliers, some of which were funded directly by the Night Vision Lab to bring forth technology, some of which we are funding. And I think the trick there is to folks like Lisa, like Textron Systems and ourselves, to be able to bring them into an architecture, into a system concept, because many times the supply chain innovation is around a certain capability, a power source, an imaging device, a laser, a sensor. What we bring, I think, as the meteors, we bring the ability to bring all those together into, again, a mission effective solution. And I think that's what we are trying to focus on. We see a lot of capabilities in the supply chain, but many cases, it's a very unique niche capability that we need to find a way to bring into the battle in an effective way. And I think that's the key thing that we're focusing on.
So that makes a lot of sense, Lisa, Renan, and Jim. But what it actually says is that you really have to have good visibility into your supply chain. And having that visibility is something that I know the Department of Defense worries about every day when it comes to their contractors and their prime contractors. I mean, do you have special approaches and systems for that visibility? Jim, you want to take that?
Well, sure, Victor. Before I answer that question, I feel like it's election season. I want to go back. It's not a debate. I just want to go back, add on to what Lisa was saying on the supply chain, I think, partnership and having trust of your supply chain. And I know when we work with Textron, I think it starts off with making sure there's alignment of behaviors and values of the organization, because it's all effectiveness of teams, whether it's a sky blue innovation or even proof transition onto production type of requirements. And as Renan said, I think partnerships bring different perspectives, whether it's technical expertise, a field, a mission perspective, or just a unique technology that not one firm, large or small, can maintain it all. But bringing I think the alignment of behaviors, cultures, value is really critical. In addition, I think there is an element of firms needing to trust each other. And I don't think you really test that when projects are going well. You really test it when you're pulling an ox out of the ditch. And when your partners are there side by side pulling that ox out of the ditch, I really do believe it speaks to supply chain resilience, as well as, I think, a strong supply chain in total. And so it's critical innovation and development. If I look at some of the elements of communication of performance, here's the way we view it. We build systems that are transparent to our customers from a performance standpoint on jobs. So we start off with the basic premise. When we say it's our contract, it really isn't our contract. It's the United States government's contract and mission that they've entrusted us or industry with. And I think it really points to the fact that you have to be a steward of the taxpayers' dollars. So if you believe that the information then and knowledge that's being created, and I appreciate a proprietary IP, I'm going to put that aside, but just the knowledge, the information is really not ours, it's the government and the taxpayers. So why should we, if we have a partnership, why shouldn't these systems be transparent on performance? And I think that goes along to partnerships with your customers and partnerships with your teammates. And I believe transparent reporting is one way to build that. There's other ways, but I think that's one way.
Absolutely.
Victor, if I may, just one thing to build on what Jim was talking about. We find ourselves in many cases, either we are the prime, or in other cases, we're a subcontractor to companies like Raytheon and others. And I think Jim's point is right about transparency and about common objective. I also think what I have found is there is no replacement for building relationships at the executive level. You got to be able to call your partner, either in the supplier or in a customer, and have a regular dialogue, share information, make sure you understand better what are their requirements, what are the issues that they're facing, and do that. I know that we are prime contractor where DRS is a provider to us, and I do that on a regular basis with my counterpart over there. We are a supplier to Raytheon Technology on other things, and I do that with my partner over there. We have regular every 2 weeks discussion, and we talk about difficult issues, and we explore what are the needs, what are the requirements. And I think there is that element of executive dialogue in building trust and relationship is invaluable in securing partnerships.
I'll pile
Go
on
ahead,
that.
Lisa.
Communication. I mean, it's true in every element of every aspect of life, be it your marriage, your kids, or your job. And I think it's what Renan says is absolutely true. And what Jim said about ox out of the ditch, I can promise you, I know the ones who have been there with me when we've been in the ditch, and when they come up again in the future, I will make sure that they're the ones that I want with me in the future projects. And the ones who left me in the ditch are not going to be there with me in the future projects. So, and I also make sure I know that I'm there for those, right? So if I put somebody in the ditch, I want to make sure I'm helping them out too, because we're not perfect either. So reputation matters. And we have a saying we say all the time, do what you say you're going to do. And if you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
Absolutely. Lisa, thank you very much. You know, Lisa, one of the things I'd like our audience to be able to hear is your side of how acquisition happened.
The real story?
That's right. We heard Jeff, but now I want the real story.
So the real story is, we were going through our strategic business review. I had a desire to want to be the first in the, I'll say the mighty mediums that provided the unmanned air, sea, and land. So we've got over 2 million hours in the airspace with our Shadow and Aerosonde systems. We were the first program of record with the Common Unmanned Surface Vehicle. And I wanted to round that out in the unmanned ground space, and wanted Textron Systems to be on the map as the first unmanned company in air, ground, and sea. And so I had that as a target. That was my vision. I was sitting on the couch one night and I was watching television with my husband, and we had come out of our SBR. We were flipping through the television, and Jay Leno's Garage came on, and there was a tank that was running across the berms there in Maine. And my husband flipped. I said, "Oh, go back to that." And we rolled back, and I said, "What is that?" And I think Mike Howe was in there with Jay Leno, and this tank was flying across what now is what we own there in Waterboro, Maine. And I Googled them, and I said, "Holy cow." And I saw their product portfolio, and I picked up the phone and I called them and I said, "My name's Lisa Atherton and with Textron Systems, and I want to come see you." And I said, they said, "Well, you know, we're talking to some other folks." I said, I will be there next Thursday. I want to come see you next Thursday. And I think this was Friday. And I flew to Maine the next Thursday, and in the space of about 3 months, we had a letter of intent, and we bought them. I think we sealed the deal. It was August 2nd that we met him, and we sealed the deal on December 18th. So it happened pretty fast. So
That's a wonderful story. And the question I have for you, though, that's an incredibly short period of time to make that happen. And how do you account for that?
I know what I want, and I go get it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, again, there's a period of time that leads up to this where you know the technology that we have. We knew strategically the gap that we needed to fill. We had looked at a number of things that said I could invest organically and try to grow organically, and grow. We have a land vehicle business with the Commando line there in Slidell, Louisiana. Or I could leapfrog and jump right into an organization that had already done the hard work and brought this capability, and they had done leaps and bounds in the electrification of the ground robotics. They were working with a company called Endeavor at the time that brought it there. So we were able to leapfrog in, which would have taken me years. And it was just the right marriage at the right time. And I think you heard Jeff say earlier, our personalities and our vision matched. And I was able to, as best I could, build a fence around their zip code and try not to let the corporate monster overburden them with the corporate creep. We still make them do PMPs a little bit, and we still make them do time cards, but we're trying to keep them as much of a, for the Lockheed folks, don't sue me. It's our little skunk works kind of type place up there. We're going to coin it Ratworks up there, but it's our prototyping shop. But it's I knew we needed it, and we went out and got it. So sometimes you got to move fast, and in the corporate world, we don't always do that very well. And I have to give credit to Scott Downley for giving me the latitude to go do that. So
wonderful. Thank you very much. Renan, any stories you'd like?
Television. Watch television.
That's right. Yeah. Jay Leno's Garage.
Jay Leno's Garage.
Renan, any stories you'd like to share?
Well, I mean, I can't top Lisa's story there. I can tell you that the fastest acquisition we made was one of the most successful ones we had, which is when we acquired from Honeywell the control and display product line for the Apache helicopter. We did this entire thing from start to finish in 13 weeks, which is quite fast. And the beauty of it is we acquired the business, brought in one person, boatload of information, and turned it into an extremely successful $100 million a year business on the Apache helicopter. We to these days provide the helmet mounted display system for the Apache, but also the third generation now of the multi-core mission processor for the Apache, which I call the heart of the Apache helicopter, where everything gets done. So I think, sometimes there's opportunities like this to make an acquisition. I think the other side is opportunities to really make partnership. These days, for example, on another domain, we are funding R&D, some startups that go into some new capabilities around power generation. I think as Lisa said, sometimes you gotta look at something, believe in the vision, and gamble a little bit, or a lot. That's part of the name of the game. You got to do it. In order to do that, you've got to have the bandwidth and the depth to be able to take some risk. And we're looking forward to do more of that. So that's kind of a little bit my story around it.
Wonderful. We're sort of getting to the end of our time here, but I'd like to ask each of you about where you think or see or suggest most impactful innovation for DoD. What areas are those likely to come from? Jim, do you want to start that discussion?
Oh, I sure can. I think one of the areas that just resonated with me in innovation is what Secretary Gertz talked about, maintenance as a strategic element of the mission. And I do believe when we look at taking knowledge and experience and accelerating performance and looking at the total cost of training or total life cycle of an end product and bringing it together in the most optimal way to really be able to play the fast rate of technology change with respect to threats and global global technology. I believe getting to the market with speed, understanding that it's just not the widget, it's not the process, it's not the system, it's really the total life cycle. I believe that is an area of innovation that I think merits a lot of thought, investment by firms, large and small.
Thank you. Lisa, thoughts?
So I have a son who will be 14 in December, and about 8 months ago, he came through the dining room to get some more batteries for his Xbox controller. And he said to me, he said, "Mom, I can control everything that I need to do with these 3 fingers." And he does everything on, plays Call of Duty and Fortnite and all the rest. And we've seen the Army use those platforms to do recruiting. In fact, Jerome Muth was able to hit all of his recruiting goals using esports as a major recruiting tool. But it spurred a thought to me that using these 3 fingers, and that's what we use as an Xbox controller for our RCV medium platform. These young kids, my son, in 10 years, that's what he's going to expect as his user interface, is these 3 fingers. So how he interfaces with the platforms that he's going to use, because I expect he will go in the military. I might be biased. How are we thinking on what that 13-year-old is going to want to interface with for the warfighting equipment of the future. And are we thinking about him or her as a 13-year-old, as a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine in 10 years, and how they see the world? He sits and looks at the screen and can control 20 different, and it doesn't bother him in the slightest. He can control multiple screens at once and has no cognitive issues at all. Are we thinking about that rapid cognitive acceleration for that generation as we're designing today? Because we know how long our acquisition process takes. We know how long it takes for us to get equipment out there. They're going to show up and say, what? Why am I dealing with this 2020 iPhone? So anyway, that's the stuff that I think that we need to be thinking about from an innovative acceleration for equipment out to the warfighter.
Absolutely. Renan, thoughts?
Victor, I'll go back to the topic I kind of discussed earlier. I think one of the most important things is this digital transformation revolution. I think that today we still take way too long to design, prototype, build, test, fail, fix, and the whole issue of new product introduction, the whole ability to bring in innovation and make it operationally effective takes way too long. And I think that using digital capabilities, the whole concept of digital twinning, the whole concept of agile software development, and I think now even the concept of testing systems in a digital environment rather than spend months and extremely expensive. I mean, you know that for example, on helmet-mounted display systems, really the only way that still safety certification is achieved is by doing very unrepeatable sled testing, doing shooting dead birds at canopies. I mean, this is still how we test systems these days, where you can actually do a lot of it these days with digital modeling. You might want to do in the end a final test, but you can do thousands of repeatable test systems using digital modeling. I think that to me is very, very key for our future. At least we at Elbit are investing a lot of money in developing the capabilities and understanding the tools and being able to accelerate the pace of innovation and inserting innovation into operational systems, Victor. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank the panel. It's just been a terrific discussion. Lisa, Renan, Jim, and I'm sure our attendees have really enjoyed the insights that come from what you've shared. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate your time. And I'm never going to forget that I had a panel of three-fingered gamblers. And we'll figure out how that is going forward. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor.
Oh, Victor, you'll be in the comedy corner a little later on tonight. That was a great line. Thank you, Victor, and thanks to your incredible trio. They were just outstanding. A great trifecta indeed. So we thank you very, very much.